Welcome back to Consumer Connection, a podcast brought to you by the Montgomery County Office of Consumer Protection. I'm your host, Michelle Escobar. Today, we're diving into a topic that so many students, parents, and even graduates are overwhelmed by: student loans. Specifically, what Maryland borrowers need to know to protect themselves and to navigate the system confidently. I'm thrilled to be joined by Toni White, the Director of Outreach and Education at the Maryland Office of Financial Regulation. And this conversation could not have come at a better time. As of July 1st, major federal student loan changes have taken effect, leaving many borrowers confused about what these updates mean for them. Toni, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Of course, thank you. First, I know that today we're going to talk about student loans.
Yes.
But OFR, the Office of Financial Regulation, does so much more.
We do.
And so I'd love for you to give us an overview of what the office does and what you do there.
Sure. So thank you again for the opportunity. So I'm Director of Outreach and Education. My job is really to make sure that Marylanders throughout the state understand what their consumer financial rights are, and to make sure that we're providing them with the outreach and education and access to resources that they need to make informed decisions. So our office is part of the Maryland Department of Labor, and our focus really is on 6 key areas. The first is consumer financial protection. The second is we are the financial services regulator, which means we license and regulate financial service providers here in the state of Maryland and make sure that they're operating in a fiscally sound manner and treating Marylanders fairly. So think of state chartered banks and credit unions, credit reporting companies, your debt collection and debt management companies, installment loans, your money apps like Cash App, as well as everyone in the entire mortgage process, student loans, and now the new virtual currency kiosks. The third pillar is consumer complaints. We have a consumer response unit that will receive and investigate complaints against the financial service providers that we license and regulate. So if you feel like there is scams, fraud, or there's an issue that you have not been able to resolve, you want to reach out to our office and consider filing a complaint with us. We also manage the foreclosure registration system here in the state of Maryland. And what that means is we receive every week a list of everyone in the entire state of Maryland who has defaulted on their mortgage, and we conduct direct outreach to them, letting them know that their mortgage is late. Don't wait. They need to be responsive with their servicer. There's a QR code on our outreach flyer, which gives them the ability to scan the code, go directly to our website, and register for an upcoming foreclosure prevention webinar. Sometimes, they might get the letter the first of the month and the webinar is not till the end of the month. So we do direct outreach to them, saying if you or someone you know is in the midst of a foreclosure issue, to please let us know, and we'll connect them directly to free legal resources, as well as free certified housing counselors that are located all throughout the state of Maryland. Student loans we're going to talk about. We have the Maryland Student Loan Ombudsman, and her job really is to be the liaison between Maryland student loan borrowers and their servicers. We always want consumers to try to resolve issues with their servicer directly, but if they're having an issue, then she's there to be the liaison, receive and investigate complaints, and hopefully resolve them for the complainant. And then lastly is outreach and education. And so we host monthly webinars from topics from understanding credit to how to file a consumer complaint. We discuss consumer loans, auto loans, auto repossessions, all the way to illegal robocalls with guests like the Federal Communications Commissions. So throughout this entire host of pillars, I should say, of the services that we offer, it's important that we touch every Marylander in every corner of the state and meet them where they are.
And which you do. Just by everything that you're explaining, I've had experience referring certain complaints that we've had here to OFR. You all do such great work. It's so helpful for Marylanders. OCP, we can take complaints here, but at the end of the day, you enforce that Maryland law when it comes to financial regulations. So that's really important. So thank you
Yes,
for that.
absolutely.
Yeah. And today we're going to talk about the student loan
Student
parts,
loans.
which foreclosure is a really important one as well. Everything that you have said is so important, but student loans, I was first generation college student, and so
Congratulations.
thank you. And so I really feel like it's really important to get to touch base with these folks, that parents, the students that are having that take out these student loans, fill out FAFSA, and they just want to go to college. They
Yes.
just want to get ahead. Parents want to support their children, and tell us, let's talk about what can be confusing about that process.
Sure. First of all, the FAFSA changed over the last year or so, so that can be a really confusing process. The main thing for parents is to start researching and do your education sooner. Be your own best advocate. Research the studentaid.gov website. Understand what type of loan programs are out there. Look at the new laws. We actually just had a multi-agency student loan ombudsman webinar last week. There were 21 student loan ombudsmans throughout the United States. And I would say we provided you that link. Watch that video. It is well worth the hour to understand the landscape of student loans, especially if you're going to take out a Parent Plus loan to support your children's education, like I did many years ago, putting 2 kids through college, because there's new rules that have changed that will really affect your decision that may not have been the same decision you would have made last year.
Yeah, and that's really important because, again, the parents just want to help their children, but it's really important to know what you're getting into, and
Absolutely.
what the obligations are and what your next steps will be. Because life after student loans, after you've taken it out, you've gotten your education, life after student loans can be overwhelming. Like, oh my, what did we
Absolutely.
just do?
Right. And then, with all of the changes as of July 1st, and I'm sure we're going to get to this, the payment options have changed. And so, for example, the Parent Plus loans, if they are taken out after July 1st of this year, they no longer qualify for the income-driven repayment program, and they no longer qualify for public service loan forgiveness. So if you're a state employee like me, or working for a local organization like you, the Parent Plus loans no longer qualify for the public service student loan forgiveness. And that can make a big difference in how you move.
Yeah.
If you're going to take out, the life cap it's $20,000 per year per dependent for the Parent Plus loans. And so there's a $65,000 cap. So if you're going to take out all these Parent Plus loans thinking that you're going to be able to qualify for public service loan forgiveness, it's another time for you to sit back, really evaluate what all the options are in the student loan repayment market, and figure out what's best for your family, because that can make a big difference.
And speaking of now repayment,
Yes.
let's talk about, because that's one thing that confused me was the lender and the servicer. So you have the lender, and then how do people find their servicer, and what's the difference? What are
Sure.
the difference between those two?
That's a really good question, and that can be confusing. So the lender on federal loans is the Department of Education. The loan is going to come from the Department of Education. The servicer, like Mohila or Aidvantage, they're the ones that's managing the account and the billing process. So studentaid.gov is your best friend. You can go there and it will tell you who your servicer is, but you should also receive a notice in the mail. You want to really keep up to date on that, because sometimes they can transfer. Mine have transferred.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you go to studentaid.gov today, download all of your loan information, download your payment history, make sure you understand what you have and who it's with so that you can stay on time with payments, bookmark their website, and know who to go to ask questions about your loans.
And so let's talk about their obligations as servicers. Because I remember hearing the words deferment, forbearance, and I had no idea. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Yes.
So do they have an obligation, or what is their obligation for that?
So for that information, you really want to rely on studentaid.gov.
Okay.
You want to go there as the .gov resource to make sure that you're understanding what all of those terms mean and when you qualify for each of them. So for example, right now, if you were in the SAVE program, repayment program, which was saving on a valuable education, right now your loan might be in an administrative forbearance. And what that means is they're giving you time to identify what new repayment program would be right for you and right for your family. And so it's really important that you investigate what your options are and go to a reliable source, which is typically a .gov website that you can trust, and really research what those terms mean and make sure that it's right for you, because a forbearance may not be right for everyone.
Yeah.
Deferment, perhaps, but you want to make sure that you know what your opportunity is and then make an informed decision.
Yeah, so it's really important then to just really, as parents, especially because the kids, they depend on the parents, just to do your homework and to really inform yourself on everything. What, as parents, what our responsibilities will be, and
Yes.
what the responsibilities of our children will be if they end up getting these loans.
That's correct, because you want to set them up for success. And, we can't predict the future. And we want to make sure that, a lot of times we go to people for information and advice and they verbally tell us things, but you want to make sure that there's a resource that you can go to where you see it in writing, on paper. Because remember, if it's not in writing, it may not exist. So if somebody's telling you things and it sounds really great, you want to go back and do your due diligence and go to these trusted websites like studentaid.gov and make sure that it's validated by them before you make your decision.
Yeah, because no one's really going to do that for you. I know, like, when my daughter, when she went to school, the guidance counselors are there to, like, okay, you have great grades, but they're not really, telling them, financially what the burden will be on them. And then sometimes the financial aid offices at the colleges are great and very helpful, but still not enough. So
there's so
absolutely.
many changes, and that's a really good
Yes.
point. They do the best that they can, but the changes have been so great over the last year that it's really hard for a lot of people to keep up. And so that's why it's important to go back, like we said, and do that research. Do it well in advance so that you don't feel pressured to make a decision, which is where that whole scam thing can come into play,
Yes.
because the scammers are going to try to appeal to the sense of urgency and the last minuteness of
Right.
making decisions. And then that's when those bad actors are going to pounce and try to sell you a dream. We'll give us $1,500 and we'll figure this out for you.
Yeah.
So being proactive really also helps to build the wall around scammers trying to get in there and force you to make an urgent decision.
Yeah. So let's talk about then July 1st.
Yes.
That really came in, the changes went into effect. And we talked talked a little bit about the SAVE plan.
Yes.
There are new repayment options.
Yes.
There are limits to the Parent Plus loans.
Yes.
So and I think that the trade schools or something can now get these
there is something about the Maryland Pell Grant, which I can
yes.
definitely investigate that a little bit
Yeah.
more, and then we can do a follow-up segment for your
Perfect. Absolutely.
listeners.
So let's do that. So talk to me about these, like
Some
July
of the
1st.
changes. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with the SAVE plan. So the SAVE plan, again, as of July 1st, is no longer in existence. And you might, when you log into your account, you might see that you're in administrative forbearance. And again, that's to give you time to figure out which new repayment program that you want to move to. As far as the repayment assistance repayment plan, so that's RAP. And that plan is designed to be income driven. It's also based on your number of dependents. And one of the things about the RAP loan is that it's really geared towards helping to decrease that runaway interest that a lot of student loans borrowers see that accumulates over time. There's also another option, which is your timed repayment program. So it's typically ideal for, although everybody's situation is unique, that's why you want to do your research, for people that might have a high balance that want a specific set time of repayment. So they want a 5-year term, 10-year term, 15-year term to repay their loans.
Oh.
So those are some of the new repayment options. As far as the Parent Plus loans, again, there is now a $20,000 limit per dependent per year. So I know that my kids went to a private college, and it was very expensive, way more than $20,000. So you're going to have to navigate how that works if you're sending a child to school and the tuition and everything is over that $20,000, and there's a life cap of $65,000. The other change, again, with the Parent Plus loan is that it's no longer qualified for the income-driven repayment program, and it no longer qualifies for public service loan forgiveness. And again, depending on where you're working, if that was your goal, it is time to really start researching and make sure that you are making an informed decision for your household.
And so now that Maryland borrowers have these changes have taken effect, where can they look for this information? Where best can they get this information to just if they haven't started already or if they haven't been informed already of what they can do?
Good question. So studentaid.gov is your friend. Go to that website. If you don't have an account, create an account, log in. It has all of your loan history. Again, bookmark that. Make sure that you download your loan information. Get familiar with what it is that you have, and also download your payment history. You want to have that available. Our Student Loan Ombudsman webpage, I should say, is another great resource. Tons of valuable information on there. We will shortly have that navigating student loan after the SAVE program and beyond. We'll have that on our website, the video as well, but I believe that you have the link for that. And our consumer page. Valuable information on other resources as well, because as you're navigating student loans, you might find that you have some other financial services issues or challenges, and you want to make sure that you know who to go to if you find yourself outside of course, Montgomery County Consumer Protection. You want to make sure you know who to go to if you have an issue.
And are there any deadlines we need to take into consideration?
Well,
right
July
now?
1st was the big deadline.
Okay. All right.
So now, and I'll be honest, I don't know if when you log into your studentaid.gov account, if it's got some type of timeline as to how long your administrative forbearance is. It should be. And if not, you should check with your servicer, because you may have 30 or 60 days, for example, for you to get yourself into a new repayment program, at least apply for it to make sure that you actually qualify for that program.
Perfect. So with all these changes, you touched on this a little bit. This is where the scammers wake up.
Yes, indeed.
And they say, hey, now it's time to reach out, look into everybody's business and what's going on, and make offers that are too good to refuse for some. But are not real.
That's true.
So has the office seen or expecting any certain types of scams, or has scams been reported to you?
So I would say historically scams are a norm, right? There's always going to be scammers that are trying to take advantage of your emotions, create that sense of urgency for you anytime there's something new that happens, right? So this is an opportunity for those bad actors to come out of the woodworks and take advantage of people who maybe they haven't heard about these student loan changes for whatever reason. Maybe they don't feel they're savvy enough to make an informed decision. Maybe maybe English is a second language for them, and they're reading the information and they just don't quite understand it. And then you have someone that's going to reach out and say, hey, I can help you with this issue. You have Parent Plus loans, or you have a child going to college. If you pay me a fee, we can help you navigate this process. We can help you apply for a loan. And by the way, we need you to update your personal information for us. We need your social security number. We need your banking information for where your payments are going to come from, 4 years from now. So there are red flags. If information is coming from a website that is not a .gov, you really want to be leery of that. You really want to trust and validate the information that's being shared with you. If someone calls and they say that they're from your servicer, there's something called spoofing. We know that, where they can make their phone number appear to be anything. So before you give out information, maybe you want to log into your account, or maybe you want to get your last statement and call that number directly and validate the information that's being shared with you over the phone. Because this is a big deal. When somebody gets your financial information, it can take over your identity. It can, and it has ruined many
Yes.
people's financial lives.
Yes.
So be proactive, be on guard, be empowered to be your own advocate and make your own decisions, but make sure that you're dealing with trusted resources. Hey, I got a buddy that does XYZ. No.
Yeah.
Go to a .gov website and, get your information from there.
Exactly. I always say if you haven't initiated that phone call or that communication, that contact, you just leave it alone. Don't worry about it and go to a trusted resource.
Go to that trusted resource and make sure, we all get those spam phone calls. I mean, I get 25 a day. Most of them go through my spam blocker app, right?
Yeah.
But make sure that you're using your voicemail as your
Yes.
as your way to really screen those calls, because you're going to could potentially start to see lots of numbers that you don't recognize. So let it go to that voicemail. And if somebody's saying, hey, I'm calling you from your servicer XYZ, get your statement out, log into your trusted account, get the customer service phone number and call them directly. Don't call that number back because you don't know if it could be a scammer.
Yeah. And these services that they say, okay, we can help you navigate this, this whole, situation or the changes or what have you. Is there a list on like the .gov, or are there certain businesses or something that a borrower should look for? Say, yeah, these are the people that can help me navigate.
I would say studentaid.gov
Yeah.
is the best one to go to. Maryland Higher Education Commission may have some information on their website. That would be another trusted website to go to. Our Student Loan Ombudsman webpage has valuable information and resources as well that could be helpful in that. So I would just say be leery, be cautious, and be mindful that you should not have to pay a fee to get this type of information.
Yes.
There's enough information on trusted websites out there that you can really navigate this process on your own.
And phone calls are always, like you could call your servicer, and then your servicer is definitely going to give you that information of what your options are.
Yes.
And ask the questions. Don't be, afraid to think that you're bothering someone if you don't understand. Just ask the question.
That is so true. There is no dumb question. All questions are valuable. If it's placed on your mind, you should ask that question. You don't want to walk away from a conversation speculating or assuming what the answer is. You want to hear it directly from them. Most of the time, those calls are recorded, right? So if you're given information that's not valuable or trustworthy or becomes fraudulent, then you come back to us because maybe you have a valid complaint with our office. Yeah. But you should definitely ask every single question and write those questions. Do your research, write all of your questions down before you have that conversation. Ask them if they have an operator number so you can write down your notes. Ask them if they have an ID number so that you can write down, you spoke with Toni White, ID number, XYZ at 4 p.m. on, July 23rd, and this is what she told me. Yeah. So that you have a way to go back to the information and who provided you the information that you're going to actually act on.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great advice, because with so many scams these days, with everyone's information just being out there. Yes. I mean, like I feel my information is out there, everybody.
Of course.
So you just want to protect yourself. And I always said, like, the timelines, logging things, just who did you speak to, all that you're talking
so
about.
important.
Yes, absolutely.
Because then, if you don't have that information and they didn't put notes in their system, you got what can you fall back on? I don't remember what her name was.
Yeah.
I honestly, I can't tell you what time or what day we talked to. Well, then how can somebody actually help you put the pieces of the puzzle together?
Exactly.
If you're not documenting that information.
That's right. Because you can get information from different people, even in the same company.
Yes.
Which is so frustrating sometimes. But if you log it and you are keeping track of everything and people you're talking to, it's gonna ease things a little bit for you.
100% agree.
Now, I really appreciate that. Now, is there anything specific that Maryland is offering, or any resources that we could let our listeners know about today?
So there is a potential tax credit that student loan borrowers might be able to apply for. It's through the Maryland Higher Education Commission. It's for a state tax credit. It's a student loan debt relief tax program. So please, look that up. I believe we sent you the link that you can
Yes.
drop in the chat and share with listeners. That would be very valuable, right?
Yeah.
If you can actually qualify for that. So go to the website, see what the eligibility requirements are, apply if you're eligible, and
Yeah.
hopefully you'll be granted the tax credit.
Yeah, when you sent that link, I had this big smile on my face. I was like, oh,
Right.
I'm like, okay, maybe. At first, you think of the kids. I'm like, oh, maybe my daughter can, take
That's
advantage
right.
of this.
Yeah, because the reality of it is that student loans are, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. For the education, yes, there are grants and scholarships and things, but I have student loans as well. So I try to keep abreast of all the information for myself, for my children, for people in my community, because I'm always hearing conversations. I might be at the gym
Yeah.
and hear somebody talking about something, and I always like to be able to say, well, did you know?
Yes.
And so keeping on top of everything is really important, and going and visiting these websites periodically, because information does change.
Mhm.
So making sure that you're up to date for yourself, for your family is really important.
And anything else besides the tax credit, which is great news. But now, did you say that has already passed?
I believe
or-
that application process is already open. It's either
Okay.
already open or it's the end of the month that
All right.
application process is available.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But anything else besides that you'd like to maybe mention?
No special programs that
Okay.
I'm aware of in Maryland. We did talk briefly about the Pell Grant, but I'd need to investigate that a little bit
Yes.
more. But I would just say, again, just make sure that you're going to the website, watch that video about navigating the student loans after the SAVE program. That it's really trusted information from the student loans ombudsman throughout the United States,
Yes.
and it can really help you to make an informed decision.
Yeah, I was going to say that just so everybody knows, the Ombudsman office, I think, is that a good place to start? To start, like, okay, we heard the podcast, but I need to speak with someone or I need to get more information. Is that a good place to start for everything else?
So
or-
I would say the student loan ombudsman is the liaison
Mhm.
between the borrower and the servicer. And
Okay.
what she really does is look at complaints
Mhm.
and addressing complaints. If you're navigating the student loan process and you've gone to studentaid.gov, you've reached out to your servicer, you can't get help anywhere, then I would say visit the student loan website and you can send the student loan ombudsman an email and see if they can point you in a better direction.
Excellent. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else for, let's say I have a complaint. I think this is important. If I have a complaint, what's the complaint process like then at the office?
Sure. So our consumer response unit actually handles the complaints. You can file a complaint online via our website. You can also call or email our office if you have a scenario and you're not sure if it's a legitimate complaint. You can speak with a financial examiner, run the scenario by them, and they'll either say, yes, this is a valid complaint with our office. You can visit the website and file the complaint there. They might say that it sounds like it could be a complaint, but that's the Attorney General's office or the
Mhm.
Maryland Insurance Administration or the MVA, just depending on whatever your complaint is. So if you have a complaint for student loans or a complaint against one of the financial service providers that we license and regulate, then you can go to our website, fill the complaint out, or call the office, speak with an examiner, and get a little bit of direction before you take that step. What I would say is, make sure if you file a complaint, you follow the 5 W's and the H: the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how
Yeah.
of what your scenario is. Because the financial examiner's job is to evaluate the entire scenario and to understand it. You're literally putting a puzzle together for that financial examiner so that they can understand exactly what happened. The more details you can provide up front, emails, text message conversations, letters that you got in the mail, your phone log of who you spoke to at the financial service provider. What was the day? What was their name? What did they say? What was the time? How many times have you tried to resolve this issue? Really goes a long way and will help to expedite That's the key. Help to
Yes.
expedite your scenario so that the financial examiner is not having to come back to you all the time with questions about your complaint. And if you have someone that feels that maybe this is a tough process to navigate, again, English is a second language, maybe they're older, maybe they're just not comfortable with it, you can, or I should say, a complainant can actually authorize a third party to speak on their behalf. So maybe if you're facing foreclosure and you're having an issue with your mortgage servicer, then you can have a housing counselor speak to our office on your behalf and then, relate that information back to you, maybe in more bite-sized pieces, etc. So that's what I would do. Start with our office, call them, email them, see if your scenario is a legitimate complaint, put that puzzle together, gather all your information, and then file your complaint.
Yeah, our last episode, we spoke about documentation
Yes.
on investigations, and that is so important. And if timelines, all the information that you can give us, just keep track of everything.
That's right.
Because it's putting a puzzle together and trying to gather everything and then make decisions from there.
That's
and
right.
So the more information you can give an investigator, the better. So that's excellent information. Okay. I think I would love to ask you some flash questions.
Okay.
And
hopefully I have some flash answers for you.
Yes. Number one.
Yes.
What's one thing Maryland parents can do today to help their students navigate loans safely?
So I am going to continue to refer back to studentaid.gov for federal loans. Go there, make sure you understand what all of your repayment options are, understand what the eligibility requirements are, what the application process is. Make sure that you understand as a parent what the Parent Plus loan caps are and start to navigate that process. What does paying for college look like, etc. Because especially if you have several children in college, and that's what I would say. And if you have existing loans, again, log into your studentaid.gov account, make sure that you download your loan history and also your payment history so that you have an accurate, timely record of that, and that if you're in one of those programs that need to reevaluate and apply for another repayment program.
Perfect. And what's one resource every Maryland borrower should save or bookmark, which you have?
I'm going to sound like a broken record
put it on
here.
A repeat here.
Yeah, broken record. So if you missed it, I'm going to give you a few, which is studentaid.gov. You also want to make sure that you bookmark your servicer's webpage as well, and just log in there periodically just to make sure there's no changes, no messages, etc. In case, sometimes emails go to your spam and you don't want to miss an important message from your servicer. Make sure that you also bookmark the Maryland Student Loan Ombudsman webpage. Our consumer page as well is really important because, again, we're a valuable resource, not just for student loans, but in your entire financial life.
Absolutely. And what is the best way to check if if a forgiveness offer is legit?
If a forgiveness offer is legit, it's going to come from a .gov website.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. And then what I would do is, if you're unsure of an offer you receive, contact studentaid.gov. If you have a challenge getting in touch with them, make sure that you reach out to your servicer to see if they are aware of what this option is. And if you try to do that and there's no avail, then you can always send the Student Loan Ombudsman an option, but you want to try to really navigate that first and do your research through studentaid.gov and your servicer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else? Oh, I wanted to I don't know if this would be then with the Pell Grant, but graduate students also, I think, have with this change, have a certain amount of I guess, money that they can borrow as well.
Yeah. And again, I would go to
Yeah.
studentaid.gov and
Yes.
research that to find out what your eligibility requirements are,
So
because you
just-
need to know in
Exactly.
advance. That's the
Yes.
key. You want to know in
Right.
advance. And there are ways that you can plan and still pursue your dreams,
Yes.
but you need to prepare for that.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to mention that, because we talked about, first-time college students and college students, but this affects graduate students
Sure.
too. So they need to get in there and also get that information.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you. Is
I
there
appreciate the
anything
time.
else?
No, I think we've covered
Okay.
a lot of really good
Yeah.
information. We certainly can circle back around and provide other details on like foreclosure prevention and some of the
Yes.
other key financial concerns of Marylanders. And other than that, we look forward to our continued partnership, and we appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about student loans today.
You don't have to figure this out on your own. Maryland has free, trustworthy support to help you understand your student loan options. With the July 1st changes now in place, staying informed is the best way to avoid problems down the road. Protect your personal information and always verify before you act. And if this episode has helped you, share it with a student or a parent who might need it. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and keep an eye out for upcoming episodes where we'll continue to bring you important updates and insights on consumer protection. Have a topic in mind for a future episode or a question for our team? Drop us an email at consumerconnection@montgomerycountymd.gov. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and family, and stay in the loop with OCP by searching the hashtag MCGOCP on social media. Remember, knowledge is key for safeguarding your consumer rights. Stay informed, stay protected, and stay connected. Until next time.
This podcast is brought to you by County Cable Montgomery, your source for news and information from the Montgomery County government. Connect with us via cable, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube by searching for County Cable MoCo.